the National Sheriff's Association on Monday, as senators begin to debate a variety of proposals regarding the matter. The process is expected to include a wide range of plans, including a bill co-sponsored by our next guest, Democratic Senator Chris Coons of Delaware. David Ignatius, Carol Lee, and Heidi Prisbilla is back for this conversation as well. Good to have you on board.
So, Senator, are you going to get a vote today?
I'm very hopeful we're going to get a vote today. I think now the leadership has to agree on exactly which votes are coming to the floor. But the McCain-Coons bill at this point is the only bipartisan bill that is likely to get a vote. Its origin is in the House. The reason Senator McCain called me last week and said, let's give this a try, let's move ahead, is it's a bill that was written by Will Hurd, Republican congressman, former CIA operative, who has the longest Texas-Mexico border in his district of any district in the country, 800 miles. Will Hurd teamed up with Pete Aguiar of Southern California. It has 54 co-sponsors in the House, 27 Republicans, 27 Democrats. And so Senator McCain, who's a great friend and someone I deeply admire, was willing to partner up with me and let's introduce it. It only focuses on Dreamers and border. That's it.
But if it doesn't have a chance of passing, as some have said, why put it on the floor for a vote?
Well, the whole point of having an open debate, which I hope we're actually going to get to have, is we put out a bill that is the Trump agenda that Grassley has introduced, that is very broad, that touches on a very wide range of issues. We put out something that's just border, just Dreamers. Have a debate, take a vote. See which one gets 60. If it's neither, take amendments.
Do you trust Mitch McConnell? He said he was going to keep the process open. Has he been good to his word so far?
Here we are. He said he would start with a neutral base bill, and he did. He said he would allow us to proceed to this debate, and he did. What I don't think is reasonable is the statement by Senator Cornyn yesterday that we have to be done by tomorrow, by Thursday.
I don't understand. Why are they rushing? This is
I don't understand either.
This is supposed to be an open process.
That's
Why would they have to? What's the deadline tomorrow?
There is no deadline tomorrow. The only deadline is March 5th, which was a deadline created by the president.
Do the airplanes stop flying in and out of Washington National? So why would they only, I'm serious, why would they only let you go to tomorrow? If Mitch McConnell stands on the floor when there's a government shutdown and says if you reopen the government, we will have an open process.
That's right.
That doesn't end in one day.
That's right. And there haven't been committee hearings on this. So I'll remind you, Mitch, the Republican Majority Leader, Senator McConnell, is a fan of regular order, as am I. We've got a lot of senators who are just coming up to speed on the minutia, on the details of what these immigration policies would be. I know it's shocking,
but I know the Senate's out next week. But I'm just curious, would it kill you guys to work on Saturday, maybe?
No, it really would.
If you don't get it done even by Friday, are there anybody in the Senate that you know that has any sort of physical infirmity that would not allow them to work on Saturdays?
There's a few senators who've been absent in the last few months.
No, I'm talking. Let's just say John Cornyn.
But
he said we got to be done tomorrow.
John Cornyn from
you don't think it'll be a health
nope,
risk if he works on a Saturday?
We could work all weekend. In fact, to me, the most encouraging development was the Common Sense Coalition, 24 senators, Republicans and Democrats, that Senator Collins and Senator Manchin have led, that have met over and over and over. We're meeting again this morning. We started meeting on the Saturday of the shutdown.
There you go.
As a way to try and get to agreement to get us out of the shutdown. And this open process is what we agreed on.
David Ignatius?
It started. We shouldn't finish until we've got a deal.
I would say it sounds like a false deadline has been set.
It's possible that it's a false deadline, but I'm hearing a glimmer of bipartisanship as you describe working with Senator McCain. And I want to ask you whether that sense of bipartisan solutions also applies to foreign policy issues. You've been one of the leading voices on Iran, on the Iran nuclear agreement, trying to find a sensible balance. Do you have a feeling that the Senate and Congress are coming together on supporting a way that will preserve that deal, strengthen it in some ways? How's that going?
I do think that Chairman Corker and Ranking Member Cardin, now Ranking Member Menendez, respect each other well, have worked together well on the Senate Foreign Relations Committee to make it possible for us to preserve the benefits, the progress of the JCPOA while still addressing the significant and unresolved problems with Iran's reckless ballistic missile program, its human rights violations, and its support for terrorism in the region. It's a tricky path. We have a president who refuses to continue certifying, and we've got vital allies in Europe who have real concerns about the threat of our withdrawal from the JCPOA. I do think the Foreign Relations Committee, on which I serve, is the most bipartisan committee that I'm on, and it's made great progress in tackling a whole series of problems. I've enjoyed working with Senator Corker. We had several bipartisan bills in the last Congress. We're about to introduce a new one in the weeks ahead. I have found him a great partner to work with, and I think he's going to work very well with Menendez to save what there is that is worth saving about the JCPOA.
I should ask, the news is that Senator Corker is reconsidering the question of whether to run again. You hear anything about that?
He's a wonderful partner. He is not answering that question, at least not when
All right, Carol Lee.
I have two questions for you. One is, what's your expectation for the Democratic memo in the House? And the other is, when you're looking at what's happening in the White House with the security clearances issue, do you have confidence in the Chief of Staff, John Kelly?
Well, it's striking that someone as senior, the person who literally was deciding what was going in front of the President of the United States, had a temporary security clearance, and as FBI Director Wray testified, one that clearly was operating under a cloud where there were questions that had been resolved and presented. I think we've got a White House that continues to really struggle with its relationship with the intelligence community, with its handling of classified material, the way that the President has acted in terms of refusing to release the Democratic memo is just another unanswered question about what's the goal and what's the objective here. I thought Devin Nunes' memo was really a partisan slap at the FBI, that when you read it and look into the details, there's not much there, not unlike other things that have come out of the White House in recent days. I've been disappointed by the infrastructure proposal, for example. So there's a lot where there was a lot of noise made about this memo. I don't think there's a lot of substance there, and the absence of a Democratic response, I think, leaves an incomplete conversation.
And Heidi Prisbilla has a question for you. Heidi?
Senator, back on immigration, in order to get anything done realistically, you've got to get it through the House. In order to get it through the House, you've got to get Trump buy-in. And we all know that's not going to happen unless there's some compromises on some of these issues, specifically what he calls chain migration, what Democrats call family unification. Why not compromise on some of these categories for very extended family, if that could get you a deal on DACA?
Well, Heidi, that's exactly the challenge we're going to be confronting both on the floor today and tomorrow and in the Common Sense Coalition debates. I think we should be doing this in two phases. I think we should be focusing first on a pathway to citizenship for Dreamers and a robust plan for border security, both southern and northern borders. I think that is a responsible deal that allows the president to get what he's been looking for and allows those of us who are advocates for the Dreamers to secure some stability for them. There are many other issues that are unresolved and unaddressed, from temporary protective status to H-1B and H-2B visas. I could give you a long menu, and I suspect Senator Langford will when he's in here as well. One of the challenges we face is we're negotiating with someone, Donald Trump, who doesn't seem to be able to take yes for an answer. He claims to be a great deal maker, but in several famously pointed or uneven exchanges, he'll accept a deal on Tuesday and reject it on Thursday. I think the hardening of his position doesn't make this week easier. I think he should let the Senate do its work and then see what he's willing to accept.
All right, Senator Chris Coons, thank you very much. Always good to have you on the set. Thanks for being on.
Thank you so much.
Coming up, we'll be